Thanks for checking out this latest climate update from the National Weather Service. We're going to take a look at the state of the climate and provide an updated outlook for summer 2021. It has been really mild across all of California this spring. As we go into the summer months, that is expected to continue. You can see even along the coast, temperatures have, in Southern California at least, been average. If we look at the summary of what's going on over the past several months in the past water year, dry conditions is the bottom line. Dry conditions with temperatures much warmer than average, especially for inland areas like the mountains and deserts since October. 2020 summer was much above average, that's last year, and in fact record warmth inland. We had 24 Santa Ana wind events since then. That further dries things out across Southern California, a little bit above average. Bottom line, with the fire weather conditions, the dead fuels or the fuel moisture is at record critical low levels, and the live fuel or the green moisture from the spring has almost entirely cured out already, especially inland. So late this spring and into the summer, we are expecting it to be warmer than average, so that'll be more stress on the fuels and the dry conditions and expanding the drought possibly. More heat waves is the bottom line on that, and the precipitation should be better than last year, which was a record low monsoon for our mountains and deserts, but thunderstorms activity in the deserts of Southern California and the mountains is expected to be potentially near average as we get into July through September. Last year was record for not only temperatures, but fire conditions. Wildfires erupted all across California throughout the summer and in the fall. The fire season extended from about May through January, a record breaking over 4 million acres. Now, a water year following the record warm and record fire season was dry. Year two for Northern California, but in Southern California in the deep red, you can see precipitation was very much below average, in the range of 30 to 60% of average all areas. If we look at the specific numbers in Southern California, take a look at San Diego. Our deficit is larger than what we received already this year. The same thing can be said with all locations inland, and the mountain areas are even worse off, where precipitation there is in deficits, such as Palomar Mountain, as much as 18 inches below where it should be this time of year. Very dry conditions. Now, if you look at the temperatures too, those are important because those add to the increased evaporation, drier conditions, higher fire potential, and overall more stress on the vegetation in California. Temperatures this past winter and water year have been much above average, especially like mentioned in the mountains and deserts, as shown here in the darker red. The weather pattern this year, 2020-2021, looked like this. The black line is the storm track or jet stream where airplanes fly, was pushed way to the north. That caused the majority of storms to go over and east of California, putting us on the dry side and the windy side. There was a cycle, about 4 different storms that moved through, and that was it. Much above average, warmer temperatures pushing this jet stream far to the north. This is temperatures in the upper atmosphere where airplanes fly. And the black line, again, is the storm track or jet stream on average during the entire water year. If we look specifically at atmospheric rivers, which are a component to about 50% of our annual precipitation, in Southern California we had one, and that was back in late January. It actually moved north of our region here through Point Conception. The majority of storms went to the far northern part of California and the Pacific Northwest. So not necessarily less storms, but all shifted to the north. Storm track last year, so 2019-20, was very similar. Unusual warm conditions in the upper atmosphere reflected here in the average, and those conditions pushed the jet stream well to the north. There was a little dip in the jet stream, at least through early April, and that allowed a few more storms than this year across Southern California, but really didn't help Northern California out. So really, we're in year two of this amplified, unusual weather pattern with the jet stream basically pushed to the north and most of California being on the dry side. If we look at precipitation last year, you can see that Southern California was an anomaly. Not only average precipitation, but much above average over inland areas, thanks to the very active storm pattern that was carving across far southern California, basically through San Diego County, as shown here, where it was much above average. Now, if we look in the ocean conditions right now, the La Nina from this past winter, which likely was a contributor to some of the severeness to our pattern, even though the weather pattern really has repeated itself over the past 2 years with back-to-back dry years in Northern California. The cooler than average conditions remain along the Equatorial Pacific Ocean or the La Nina, but look at the warm conditions that extend from the West Pacific to Central and Northern. That seems to be expanding based on satellite data like this. That is a reflection of that continued weather pattern of storms pushed to the north. So the ocean is seeing more sunshine, less turnover, and wind and mixing of that water. So much warmer than average conditions over the heart of the Pacific Ocean right now at the ocean level. The precipitation across the mountains of California looked like this, near record low, just above the record dry 76, 77. Not the driest on record, of course, but less than half of the precipitation that the mountains of the Sierra Nevada should have received. So this counts for snow and rain. And look at the water supply. This reflects the rain and also the snowpack or lack of. The snowpack was 25 to 50% of average this year when we got to April. So we received that much less runoff into our reservoirs. And the reservoirs started off low, and they now are considerably below historical averages as shown in blue here. So very dry conditions and water supply on the low end, especially with major reservoirs like Shasta and Oroville. Top 3 driest storage periods, comparable to what we saw in 76, 77. The drought monitor here reflects the soil moisture, the fire weather conditions, the precipitation, snowpack, and short and long-term impacts. And you can see across all of California, not only is it red, but we have some deep red shaded areas, which is the worst case scenario, exceptional drought, or the D4, has now expanded in northern and southern California and much of the Great Basin in Southwest. The change over the past year is very evident in Southern California. Again, Northern California, this is year 2, even though conditions have worsened even in that region. The desert Southwest, lack of a monsoon in 2020, very dry winter conditions, has severely expanded the drought in Southern California. Taking a look at the outlook for precipitation, only hope is a little bit of monsoon activity. We normally see that between July and September. Will we see an earlier onset? Well, it's possible with the extreme warm conditions already developing, which drives the circulation in the upper atmosphere to bring that moisture up from Mexico and the Baja region. We do know that last year was record dry 2020, so we do expect conditions to be better. This mainly affects the mountains and deserts, but does contribute to some precipitation and impact to lessen fire danger as we go deep in the summer. Now, temperature-wise, we're not going to get much help there. It looks like warmer than average conditions as the upper level high pressure sets up and is stronger than usual across the desert Southwest and the Four Corners region. That'll be what drives the monsoon moisture, but that also will drive and produce more and potentially more significant heat waves as we go from June all the way through the summer. So warmer than average conditions is the bottom line. Check out the heat risk for the daily forecast on the link I provided here for short-term weather forecasts. What's going on the next couple weeks? Well, we see really warm conditions already setting up in Northern California over Memorial Weekend, but we see that continuing through early June and potentially a little bit longer. So the epicenter of the very warm conditions coinciding with where the drought is at its worst right now across Central and Northern California. So this takes us at least out into the early and mid part of June. Fire weather outlook looks like this. It already is a significant fire weather potential for large wildfires if there's an ignition in Northern California and really all of the Southwest and Great Basin. Now, with monsoon relief, that should trim off the desert Southwest, but we look to see expanded fire weather potential for large fire growth even in Southern California because of the warmer than average conditions in the very dry winter and the drought we've now entered. So you see the red shaded areas expanding to significant wildfire potential even in Southern California as we get into the latter part of June and especially July. Here's a recap of what we went over in the previous slides. Take a look at these bullets here as a summary of everything we talked about. The very dry winter, the back-to-back dry winter really for Northern California, the numerous Santa Ana wind events, and the record hot summer, which has really continued into the past winter with dry conditions. And overall, this puts a stress on fuel and fire weather conditions and a stress on water supply and worsens the drought conditions. So warmer than average summer expected as we go into summer 2021. And that will definitely be an impact as it combines with the already existing and expanding drought conditions.